Okay, hello everyone. We are now ready to start our webinar. And first of all, I would like to welcome all of you to our webinar here today from the Food Community of Practice, or FoodCoP for short, where we are fueling startup villages with circular bioeconomy strategies. We are live here from the RDI Hub in County Kerry in Ireland, which is the large building here you can see on the image. And this is an innovation centre right in the middle of rural Ireland. We're really proud to have a centre like this here in this area, and really delighted to be part of the FoodCoP programme. So we're very excited for the delivery of today's webinar. We have three incredible speakers lined up with some amazing industry experience from a range of different areas. Our first speaker is Kate Carmody, coming from the Beal Organic Farm and former chair of Hemp Cooperative Ireland. Cliodhna Griffin is our next speaker, who is Business Development Executive at Board Iascaigh Mhara, and John Moses, founder of Mo Farm. And finally, I'd just like to give a special mention to Sharon Shukru of Cliodhna Mhara, who's doing some incredible work with oysters here in County Kerry. Unfortunately, Sharon couldn't make it today, but we sent her our absolute best, and we're looking forward to speaking with her in the future. So, before we begin with our speakers, I'd like to talk a little bit about what FoodCoP actually is. So it's the Food Community of Practice. And if you're someone here that's interested in food innovation or sustainable practices within rural areas all across Europe, then this really is the platform for you. It's centered around these startup villages which foster innovation and sustainability in rural food systems across Europe. And it's all around a collaborative space between European partners, and ensuring that as a small food producer or rural community, that you get the opportunity to be stronger together. And there's training programs, mentorship, peer-to-peer learning opportunities, and it's all centered around a circular bioeconomy practice. So if this is something that you feel like interests you, you're more than welcome to join the FoodCoP platform by scanning the QR code here. So as I mentioned, you get all of the benefits like mentorship, training programs, support, part of the whole ecosystem. And this is completely free, and it's an initiative that we're really proud to deliver. So you can scan the QR code, you can sign up to FoodCoP using just your phone. It's really easy and quick to sign up, and I'll leave it here for maybe the next couple of seconds so that you all get the opportunity to join. I'll be putting the QR code at the end as well, if you don't get the opportunity to do it now. And if there are any questions about Food Community of Practice, you're more than welcome to ask them here. We'll also have the opportunity to have a Q&A with our guest speakers as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, who is Kate Carmody from the Beal Organic Farm. And her farm is in Iascaigh in North Kerry, so not too far from where I'm from. And she's the former chair of the Hemp Cooperative Ireland. So Kate will be discussing the use of hemp and flax as a crop within farming systems, specifically as a rotational crop. There are huge environmental benefits, as well as the potential for this within the bioeconomy. So, Kate, you're really welcome to the webinar here today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and whenever you're ready, you can begin sharing yours.
Thank you very much, Chris. I shall try and share my screen. And, every time. Yeah. Well, I've lost the first slide there, but I don't need to go back. I'm going to tell you the story of the Irish Hemp Cooperative, and also I should state that I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not the cooperative. I've been farming here in North Kerry for over 40 years. I've been organic for nearly 30 years, and I love everything about rural Ireland, rural Europe, and the whole world. I've just come back from Argentina, where I see very much the same problems that we have here in Europe. As a model is bigger is better, in the minds of some people, and we know that's not true. So the Irish Hemp Co-op started, well, I grew a crop of hemp in 2016, and a journalist wrote about this crop, and I ended up with a queue of farmers at my back door. It actually caught the imagination of so many people. And, all stakeholders in the rural community loved it. We have a big history in Ireland of growing flax and hemp. And before the famine, we grew nettles as a fiber crop. So it kind of evoked a lot of memories in people, and especially elderly farmers whose sons and daughters were all over the world, but they wanted them to come home to live in rural Ireland and to farm. And as a dairy farmer myself, it's hard work being in dairy or beef and sheep. The amount of work you do is not met by the income that you make. So I looked at this from very much as a way of producing a value-added crop that farmers could produce easily, and something that really needs to be in the bioeconomy. So some people call me a cross woman because I do a lot of work on policy and advocacy at every level in Ireland, European level, and globally, because I'm half a Yorkshire woman. I have common sense and pragmatism, and I know this all fits so neatly in the bioeconomy. So my background, as I said, I'm organic farming, but I'm a recognized expert in agricultural production and sustainability, and I'm a biochemist and a social scientist. So like a lot of women, I'm a holistic thinker. So I like to see a problem and find the solution. Now this is Ireland. I live at the most northerly point of North Kerry. So we have these heavy clay soils, peatland soils, which are ideal for growing hemp and flax. And in my own townland here in Beal, we had 2 flax retting ponds. And one of my neighbours told me how he filled in the last one about 50 years ago, but things change, agriculture changed. So why hemp and flax? Because it's ideal on this marginal land. And if you live in the west of Ireland, we have great rainfall, and with climate change, it's getting a lot worse. And, we have this mantra all over the world, either get bigger or go bust. And I think Greenpeace wrote a report on that lately. And what we have in my community and, all over Europe are a lot of small-scale farms. I farm 26 hectares or 23 hectares in terms of agricultural area for production. So this is the first hemp crop I grew back in 2016. And this is what enthralled people because this was only after 3 weeks of growth. And, I call this a rotational crop because it's only in the ground for 90 days. And, from setting to harvesting. And if we look at the agronomy of hemp, it sequesters 10 tons of CO2 per hectare. I won't read all of this, but, if we had 20% of agricultural, 217,000 hectares of land would reduce our CO2 emissions by 20%. And, we have a lot of talk about carbon credit schemes. The one for forestry is claimed by the government. But, if we do have a carbon credit scheme, it should enable farmers to have a just transition. Hemp, it's a phytomediator. I know from my own experience that biodiversity loves it, the ground loves it, The insects love it. The birds love it. I sometimes feel like every bird in North Kerry lives with me because once the hemp goes to seed, I have flocks and flocks of birds dripping off the seed. It suits an organic system because it doesn't need input. What I do is put out farmyard manure before we plough. As an organic farmer, I don't use chemicals, so I don't believe in this min-till system, which is promoted so much by the chemical industry, because, it doesn't work. Hemp, with its long taproot, Im- improves the soil structure, and, it fits in for any type of farming. If you're an arable farmer, you can grow hemp and flax as a great crop. I do, I use it as a rotational crop in a ground that might have a lot of rushes from high rainfall. So I put the hemp in and it drowns out any weeds coming up. So you end up in the autumn when the hemp comes out, you can power harrow it and put in whatever crop you want next. And it's shown to improve the ground for the crops that come afterwards. And being a biochemist, biomedical scientist, hemp, is really, to me, a key part of the bioeconomy for Ireland. If you want to know what it does, this is all that it does. And this is just the stalk and the seed, which are the two legal things you're allowed to produce in Ireland, even though we have a lacuna in the law here. So the Food Safety Authority do give permission for people to produce CBD oil, which some people do. These oils are very useful. I'm a fan of CBD myself because of its potential for treating Parkinson's and other neurological diseases. But you see here, the stalk, it belongs in industry. It belongs in our clothing industry, our building industry. Here in Ireland, we have so many derelict houses that we could renovate with hempcrete, because living in a stone house myself, I know that hempcrete allows the wall to breathe, which is very important because concrete does not have those qualities. I use hemp stalk at the moment for bedding because we have no decortication facilities in Ireland. The hemp seed, again, you can use it for food, all these uses. I won't read them all out to you. It is now allowed as a protein crop in animal feed in Europe. That is something that I asked when I presented to the European Parliament, because it's a high protein crop. So technically it could replace soya for us. At the moment we import a huge amount of soya from the Americas, and it would be much better if we could produce our own protein crops. And I know myself I use it for body care, for cosmetics, and it's just so beautiful to use. So this is the potential and why I've been trying to promote this for the last 9 years. You can integrate it into all farming systems. It cleans the soil. As I said, I use it to wipe out rushes on my farm, so there's no need for using MCPA, which is a terrible endocrine disruptor. They go into your cells and interfere with the DNA, which is why so many people get cancer from MCPA. And we have a huge amount of cancer in North Kerry, which is due to excess MCPA levels in our water supply, in my opinion. And the fact that it's a rotational crop, it means that at the end of the day, you can get your grass water back. So I see it as a cash crop for farmers because it can allow farmers to keep less cattle, which again has environmental benefits. The figures, if you could sell the crop, are quite amazing. And, I'll come on to that in a moment. So the vision from Hemp was that we would have hubs where, maybe a social cooperative providing the equipment for harvesting and setting the crop so that you could experiment with the appropriate varieties, because every year I grow a different variety to see which one grows best on my farm. And this is something that we need to do. We need to produce the fibre, the shib, which is the woody core, which is used for the hempcrete, the seed, the leaf and the flower. And as I said before, the leaf and flower, legally, you're not allowed to use, but the Food Safety Authority of Ireland will let you use, which is a bit mad. Anyway, a mobile biorefinery would be my answer to the leaf and the flower, because it would take that the leaf and flower, it would produce a cake that could be used to feed animals, and you could take out the oil and the proteins and the sugars and whatever else you want. The stalk, this is the straw, and then if you put it through a decortication machine, you get hemp fibre, which you can use for making clothes. And remember that industrial hemp is cannabis sativa L. And as we know, every government in the world gets a bit hysterical about the word cannabis. But industrial hemp, the L isomer, it does not have high THC. So you have no problem with hot crops, especially in a country like Ireland, where we have all this wonderful wet and windy weather. And then you have the hemp shiv, which is what we should be using in our building industry, because it allows buildings to breathe. You're not having toxic chemicals that you have at the moment, with all these artificial plasterboards that have been put in. And I've done an old stone house up with it here, and the whole atmosphere of the place is so different. And my ambition is to do my main house in it. So these are pictures from a company in Yorkshire where I went to visit, and the figures are old, but they just give you a rough idea of values from the stalk. So they separate the stalk into the ship, the building material, the fibre that would go into biocomposites or to clothing, and then the dust is put into briquettes for burning. And now I want to talk about the future, because after 9 years of trying to promote this, we have met every barrier you could imagine. Lack of policy, and I appreciate that we're quite a conservative country, but we need to get out of that comfort zone and embrace hemp and flax, because it's part of our tradition, it's part of our history. Twice the government have done a consultation on hemp and fibre crops, and for the second consultation we did a big submission, and the only thing that was the only result was that they said they would not support us, that they would leave it to big business. And this is one of the big issues for rural Ireland, that everything is about serving big business and not the small farmer, not the SME, not our rural communities. And that's why these, innovation hubs are so important, and why we need one in North Kerry. The other big barrier we've had is from the financial industry, who actually debanked us and technically destroyed us by leaving us without any banking service for a long time, which we have rectified now. But AIB said they had no appetite for hemp. What does that mean? I actually sent them some hemp seed, but they sent it back to me. But it's childish and not very helpful. And the same with the insurance industry. They will not insure hemp businesses. So people have to go to the UK. And these are the barriers we meet outside of our own government. And I don't, I apologize for our own government, but they have not supported us for the last 9 years. Yet we have a place in the bioeconomy and we should be there. And it's recognized all over the world, but we have not got there. So I hope by next year things might change, because it will be the 10th anniversary of me trying to push this. And it's only by pushing the barriers that you achieve change. And rural Ireland needs a change. The farmers in my community and my farm, we need the opportunity to create value-added products that would actually save our environment, save our rural communities, and just save the planet. And that's the end of my story. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that, Kate. Really, really informative. I think some of the opportunities there are huge, but equally so the challenges within hemp. I know it firsthand. A close friend of mine grows hemp in Ballydesmond, and I suppose land there would be kind of similar to where we are in North Kerry as well. If anybody has a question for Kate, we have maybe a minute there left. If anybody would like to drop in a question. I might ask a question myself, Kate, if that's okay. Like you spoke about,
Yeah.
the integration of hemp resulted in rushes being gone from the site. Would you see that as just a nice byproduct, or do you think it could be an implementation strategy for drainage of land and removal of rushes?
Yeah, I do. I think we actually submitted a very large grant application to trial this out to the Department of Agriculture. And forgive me for saying, they came back to me and said they did not know if you could grow hemp in Ireland. And their other reason for refusing the grant was they didn't think anyone would apply for the grant, which implied that they'd already decided who to give the money for. But, we did a comprehensive grant application, which I can share with you, because, it's from the field to the end product. And it was all about, taking these heavy land, on clay soils, which, are very impervious, so they tend to get very wet. And hemp helps dry it up. And I have proven this. I've done this throughout my farm. My farm is a mixture of, my lower farm is siltland, where there's 3 feet of topsoil and it's all sand. It's beautiful. But the back of my farm are these kind of heavier soils. And I have got rid of rushes by growing the hemp and the flax. I love flax because the birds love it as well. But it's nice to live with nature as well. But I think our farmers deserve a better service. And I think this project, which, as I said, I'm willing to share with anyone, I've shared it all around the world. It was all we wanted was just over 1 million. 1.5 million would prove this. And this was a national project we wanted to do, including Northern Ireland. But no one would fund it. I even went to the Island Fund and everyone. But because it's hemp, because it's cannabis sativa, and this is where the word canvas comes from. Canvas
Yeah.
is a derivation of that, because hemp was used to create the sails of the ships and the rope. And any elderly farmer can remember the hemp twine for tying up the hay, the reeds of hay and all that. So,
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
just it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I suppose it's like many things in life, it'll become circular, and I think we'll come back to, a really strong hemp production and usage, hopefully within Ireland and Europe. Listen, Kate, I'd like to thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it, and we'll share details as well with participants, so they can reach out to you after. But on behalf of everyone here at the RDI Hub and at FoodCoP, I'd just like to thank so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can just close your screen sharing there, Kate. Great. Thank you so much for that, Kate. Well, from the fields of North Kerry out onto the ocean, I'd like to welcome our next speaker onto the FoodCoP webinar. Cliodhna Griffin works for Board Iascaigh Mhara, and she's the Business Development Executive there. And BIM for short, they're really driving innovation and resilience in Ireland's seafood sector. Us here in the RDI Hub, we're obviously, situated very close to the coast. It's something very important to us from both an economic but a cultural standpoint as well. So it's brilliant to have Cliodhna here on the webinar today. So Cliodhna, it's great to see you. Whenever you're ready there, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you can take it away.
Great stuff. Thank you, Chris. I've had the pleasure of being in the RDI Hub on a couple of occasions. We ran an innovation studio a couple of times from your venue. So I'm just going to set up the presentation here and hopefully you'll be able to see it. There we go. Is that working okay for you?
Yeah, we have that now, Cliodhna. Thanks a million.
Perfect, great stuff. So thanks a million for the introduction. So my name is Cliodhna Griffin, and as Chris has outlined, I work with Board Iascaigh Mhara as a business development executive. So I work in the innovation division of our company. So I'm nestled here along the Wild Atlantic Way in Galway. So we're national. So a lot of us are working along the coast, close to source and close to the sea. And it's lovely, wet and windy weather, typical of Galway anyways. So in terms of Board Iascaigh Mhara, who are we, what do we do? We are a government agency responsible for supporting the development of the seafood sector in Ireland. So our main mission is to support and enable value creation for the sustainable sector. And I suppose our vision is to partner with industry. So really looking at, I suppose, this presentation, I'm going to give you a snapshot view of sustainability and how we build kind of resilience and look at different co-products or waste products. So our aim really here is to minimize or eliminate where possible, to reduce or mitigate, or to find uses and applications for byproducts or waste products. So I'll term them as byproducts for the rest of the presentation, just so you're fully aware. So looking at BIM, we have various different work streams that help and support the seafood sector, but these streams are all informed by various policies, both at a national level, outlined here by the Bioeconomy Action Plan, the Food Vision, the Ireland's Food Waste Prevention Roadmap, and our own strategy of turning the tide, and of course international strategies as well, such as the SDG goals. So why are we focusing on waste valorization? There is, I suppose, a protein shortage worldwide, and with increased population, there is going to be a demand for consistent, high quality protein. So we want to support our seafood sector, optimize their existing business, and add value here in Ireland. So as I've mentioned, we've so many different projects going, but I wanted to kind of showcase one project in particular, which will highlight the supports that we offer to our client companies and through to the seafood sector in general. So this one is particularly on Superground. So to give you a bit of backstory, BIM were introduced to this technology-based company in Finland back in 2024, and our in-house technology guru, John Fagan, visited them in Finland on his own just to, I suppose, assess their technology, get an overview, get some insight into the company. And following that, we invited them to give a presentation at a co-products opportunities workshop in Teagasc back in November 24. And industry's response was overwhelmingly positive. They were really interested in the product offering offering that these guys were delivering. I'll go into kind of what they do in a little bit more detail, but essentially they offer a solution to the seafood sector and to other sectors, but we're focused primarily here on seafood, that essentially produces a food ingredient that has a good taste, an affordable price, and it's sustainable because it's utilizing waste or co-products from the fish. So following the presentation that they gave in November, we hosted industry under our seafood capacity building scheme. So this is a support that we offer to industry. We organise a visit to view different technologies of interest to the industry. So it's industry led. It's what they're interested in. So we visited a superground in Finland with the companies outlined here, just to get eyes on the ground and feet on the ground more so. So following that, we decided that it would warrant a project and to critically assess the use of this technology in the Irish context. So in terms of the BIM support for this particular project, we looked at a production trial. So we set up and organised a production trial in the Northwest. One of our client companies gave us the use of their facility in order to conduct the trial. So we organised that and supported various different stakeholders to come and utilise the equipment. We looked at it in terms of the regulatory barriers and the food safety side of it, so consultation with the SFPA, because when you're utilising co-products, there are some regulatory barriers that you have to overcome, both here nationally and at the EU level. We looked at the process and the nutritional composition. We then worked on new product development, sensory analysis, in-market assessment, and we will be conducting a financial overview. So talking about the process, I've depicted it in pictures because it's easier to kind of get a grasp of it. So when we're looking at co-products, it's what's left over from filleting or from processing your fish. So in this case, we're looking at kind of the frame of the fish, any waste muscle tissue that might be still on it after trying to take that off, and the heads, sometimes intestines as well. So we looked at that element, but also whole fish. So these fish are kind of underutilized species here in Ireland. Typically, these guys are landed and packed whole and shipped internationally, mainly to kind of Asia or the African markets. In terms of processing of those fish here in Ireland, they don't really get processed for human consumption here. They normally go to fish meal production. So with the superground technology, that enables taking these raw material supplies and generating a kind of a paste which grinds down the bones, which is one of the largest components of the fish that is an issue when you're looking to process it and add value. And it gives you this smooth fish-based paste. And I suppose the fish-based paste is really interesting because it's used as a marine ingredient. So this can be utilized for various different products and end products. And you'd be selling it as an ingredient for use in fish cakes, in fish bites, etc. So what we're trying to do here is not displace fish, what we're trying to do is kind of incorporate a lower value type of protein when I suppose the normal protein supply is quite constrained. So looking at the main benefits of this technology, so to the processors and the industry here in Ireland, it's a simple process that can be added into their existing business model. It'll allow for increased value creation for them and increasing use of their existing raw material or waste stream. Yes, of course, it's circular and that's really attractive. But for a lot of companies, it's the bottom line, what's in it for them and how does it, improve their business. So hopefully by looking at other higher value opportunities for their waste, they'll improve their margin at the end of the day. But then I suppose for the end users who you're selling this to and how you're pitching it, it's a sustainable source. You're utilizing pelagic fish, which is one of the lowest carbon types of protein out there. It's competitive in terms of pricing, all your supply, and it's a consistent quality. And it's also a readily adaptable ingredient. So if you have a significant enough order, you can kind of modify it and the ingredients that go into it in order to get a bespoke product, essentially. This is just an overview of the nutritional profile of a couple of the fish that went through the system. But as you can see, it is high RE source of protein. It's low in saturated fat, and it's a fantastic source of vitamin D because of the bone foams that are in this paste. So in terms of new product development, what we do here? So we supported this, and we looking at NPDs, so new product development applications of the fish paste. So allowing industry to kind of include this in their pitch if they were to purchase this equipment, have it in their facility, how would they pitch this to sell it to other stakeholders. So we wanted to create a range of products that we can utilize and showcase. Look, it is readily adaptable. It can kind of fit into your existing products, or you can look at new products as well. So this would potentially allow for 17% savings if you use it at an inclusion of 50%, or if you were to replace 50% of your mince with the paste. We will be conducting sensory analysis quite soon. So the aim of this really is to ascertain the general acceptance of the paste as an ingredient in various food products, again used as a sales tool for industry when they interact with the market. We looked at market assessment within this project, so trying to gauge the interest of potential end buyers. It's quite a novel ingredient or a novel technology in the seafood space, so trying to socialize this with potential buyers. So we linked with the European, so the French and Spanish market quite heavily, as we kind of saw an area that would apply in terms of their tapas market and various kind of processed food. We also engaged with the Chinese and Japanese market as well while we're in Barcelona, just to socialize it. And I suppose it's an early stage in terms of innovation, and it's not commercially available just yet in Ireland or internationally. So it's really trying to break down those initial barriers and communicate this is an innovative opportunity that is potentially coming down the line. So I suppose next steps for this project in particular, we're looking at a critical evaluation of it and a financial assessment, and then that will be all communicated to our industry. But looking at the broader picture of kind of waste valorization and what are our next steps within BIM, we've loads of different kind of smaller scale projects in the pipeline for next year, but also past projects. But one of a larger kind of areas that we're looking at is I suppose a project on developing a shared facility in the Northwest region where businesses could come in, take their research to the next level, and kind of look at adding more value. So that's at really early stages. We're looking at a scoping study at the moment to really assess the opportunity here and to gain stakeholder buy-in. But as part of that larger project that we're looking at in the Northwest, we have an event coming up, so I'm using this as a plug. It's in Killybegs in County Donegal on the 20th of October, and this is in conjunction with Bioeconomy Week Ireland. So we're looking at the opportunities in the blue bioeconomy and how can companies engage with us and with the blue bioeconomy and really break down those barriers and showcase the opportunities. Yes, it might have a long lead-in time commercially, but there is significant opportunity here. So I'd encourage anyone on the call to have a look at the Irish Bioeconomy website. There is a wealth of events that are happening both in person and webinars for those who are attending here internationally. But just Sinead from me, so gur míle maith as éisteachlumm. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. But if you wanted to get more insight on various different other projects that we've conducted, feel free to contact me on the email here. So
Well,
thank you.
Cliodhna, really, really appreciate it. And I think if you want to send us the link for that event, we'll be happy to share it with participants and with the wider audience. Really appreciate that. It's really interesting to see as well, like the innovation and developments that are happening within the whole industry. I suppose it's not that long ago that like we would have been in an environment where every element of the animal would have been utilized. And it's only really within the last kind of generation that I suppose culturally and as a society, we've kind of moved away from it. But it really is, at the forefront of sustainable innovation is to utilize every element of that. If anyone has a question, you can leave it in the chat below. We've a little bit of time, but in the meantime, Cliodhna, just a question from myself. In terms of like broader innovation within not only seafood, but also within marine tech, what's the one thing that really, really excites you? What's the one thing that you think for next year and beyond is going to be the big ticket and the thing that's really exciting?
Yeah, great question, Chris. There's so many. In terms of BIM, we're looking at all of the different facets of the seafood sector. We have a really cool aquatech division looking at technology that's applicable to the aquaculture sector, not only here nationally, but really focused from an international perspective. But for me, my passion is kind of leading in the blue bioeconomy and getting more with what we have. Because I must say the seafood sector is quite circular as it stands. They are finding uses for most of their waste. There are little pockets around the country that aren't utilizing, say, blood water coming from processing, and that's kind of downstream. We will look at that, but they are really circular, but it's at a low value opportunity at the moment. So it's trying to put into place some supports there for them to enable more value creation. And that might be looking at kind of the low-hanging fruit at the moment, which is say your biofertilizers, biostimulants, and that side of things. But then looking at the value chain in terms of say nutraceuticals is really interesting. The cosmetic side of it is really, really interesting. There's so many applications. Obviously, we know seaweed is fantastic for health, but also for skin. But outside of seaweed, there's opportunity in fish. Marine collagen is becoming of more and more importance. So for me personally, I think getting better value from our waste resources is of big interest to me and kind of bringing the Irish seafood sector along on that journey.
That's great. And I think for us, like it's really reassuring to know that, within these big organizations, there's people like yourself that are really passionate about circular bioeconomy that are paving the way for change. And I think you have in with Hatch Blue, you've an innovation accelerator type program pretty soon, which will be really exciting.
Yeah, so I suppose our LinkedIn, whether it's the BRM official page or with Hatch, there's a wealth of information there on kind of the supports that are provided. So annually we run an innovation studio where companies operating in aquatech, but also biotechnology can come on the program. They might be an existing company working in an adjacent industry. They might be aquaculture based or looking at inland waters or whatever it may be, and they're coming onto the program, learning about the seafood sector, learning kind of the gaps that they could plug. Equally, there's startups coming through as well, and we're kind of showcasing the opportunities that are there for them in the sector and supporting them along that journey. So yeah, it's a great one. So head over to BIM's LinkedIn, and I think our cohort is full for this year because it's kickstarting next week, and we're not in Kerry, unfortunately. We're in Galway, which I'm delighted about, but it's a pity. Maybe in a couple of years we'll be back in the RDI Hub.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It sounds good, Cliodhna. Listen, again, Gormagos, and we'll share any information and details with the participants. But thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Brilliant. And thanks again there to Cliodhna. That was really, really interesting. And it'll be fascinating to see how, with the development of those new products, how it'll look in the future. So I'd like to welcome our next speaker, John Moses from Mo Farm. And, I love this opening intro. What do mushrooms and AI have in common? And John believes that in rural Kerry, absolutely everything. I suppose John is a testament to how you can take, cutting edge innovation and apply it into farming and have some really, really interesting results. So, John, it's great to have you on. I'll stop sharing my screen there, and whenever you're ready, you can start sharing yours.
Good morning, Chris, and everybody else, and thank you again for the invitation today. I'm going to be quite straightforward. There's no screen sharing, so you're going to see my face, and basically you're going to hear me for the next 20 minutes or so. But to give you an insight of what brought me to Kerry, I want to turn the clock back and just give you a basic understanding of how I got here today. So 3 years ago, get this image in your head, the corporate suit, the Armani suit, the briefcase, working in the financial sector. I was the go-to person for anti-money laundering, financial fraud, and pre-litigation. Worked in banking industry, and basically that was me. It sounds horrible now when I say it, but I was in boardroom meetings, and basically they pay you an absolute fortune, but you are their go-to gopher in some respects. You're working hell of a long time and a lot of hours. And I was in one of these boardroom meetings that you've all been there. You've all been in a meeting where you think, "What the heck am I doing here?" And I just had this epiphany because it was one of those where I'd actually started looking at retiring, and one of the places I looked at, which was giving funding, free land, and a house in a rural island as such, was Greece. So I was living in Guernsey. As for those of you who know Guernsey, it's a tiny little island, about 10 miles long, 8 miles wide, just off France. And that's where I was living in the financial industry. And Greece just had this massive attraction. I thought, yes, that's the place for me. And then somebody said to me, "What about Ireland?" And I said, "It rains in Ireland. Come on." And they said, "It never rains in Ireland." So anybody who's Irish or has been to Ireland, you know it rains in Ireland. But that didn't put me off. I love a challenge. I came to Ireland, and I literally got on from our little fishing expedition we just had. I threw my anchor down in a village called Shneem. Now, why Shneem? It's rural. It's basically one of the most beautiful places you can actually find in Ireland. And yes, I'm biased now, but I found a derelict farm with an old cottage that had basically started to work its way back into the ground, and just off the Kerry hills, just outside of Shneem. I set about, and I've converted this derelict cottage back into a beautiful home to live in. Did all the work myself, plumbing, plastering, used traditional materials, lime plastering, and so on and so forth, and got the house up and going. And guess what? Got underfloor heating as well. So for Ireland, that's great, believe me. But my main objective, and being serious, was what am I going to do with this place? Now, AI three and a half years ago was just in its infancy. I was fully aware of it and used it in my profession in banking because it was used for alternative methods. But I knew the power of AI and what its capabilities were. So I started running AI and used it for photographic images of the farm, used it for geographical locations, and I've always had an interest in gourmet mushrooms. And Sneem, believe it or not, was a golden gift. It's right on the Kerry Way. It's massive with tourism, some fantastic hotels in the area. So I went to see, you don't forget to do the groundwork, went to see the lads at the hotels, the restaurants, and so on and so forth. And had a chat with the chefs there, and they said, if you can produce a local produce that's different and unique to Kerry itself, will definitely be interested. So it's okay, I'm saying they'll be interested, but the main crux was, can I do it? So I went back to AI and put in what I was looking to achieve and how I was supposed to do it and all the rest of it. And believe it or not, it came up with an absolute brilliant business plan. And then I said, what do I do if I don't have much money to do this? You know, let's be realistic. Let's challenge AI. Let's just go in and spend pennies, because at the end of the day, if you're setting up I don't care where it is in the world, you've got a budget, okay? And you could be looking at setting up as a community project, you could be setting up as a solo project. Finance is always the big thing. And he came up with the brilliant idea of setting up in a shipping container. A shipping container made me think, but if you've ever experienced the wild winds that we get down here on the west of Ireland, believe me, a shipping container is a brilliant idea. So literally lion's mane, shiitake, golden oyster, chestnut, pink oysters, you name it. That is what we're looking at. Now, the next big thing I looked at as well is how can we become circular economy? So the farm itself, using things from the farm. Now, everybody in Ireland knows that farmers hate rushes. So let's go into AI again and tell me what I can do with rushes. And it's a byproduct that I can use to actually create mycelium, the substrate which the mycelium grows on. So, result, let's start cutting the rushes and do some trial projects. Yes, it works. So it's a free produce off my land. And if I go to other farmers and say, can I cut your rushes for free and take them away? They'll think I'm bonkers. But at the end of the day, I'm saying, can I have your goods and make money out of them for free? That's what I'm actually doing, and it works. So using the AI side, you can see I love AI. I'll chat about it all day. Google recognized this, and I was invited to Google headquarters in Dublin in May this year, and I was one of the winners of You're the Business Award for the use of AI to actually set up a business and to take it forward. So that was, yeah, I just thought we're starting to actually do something here. I say, why Kerry and why rural Kerry? Well, this could be any place in the world, being realistic. You've got to look at what you can achieve with what you've got. So I could have gone to Greece, but would I have got what Kerry offers me? We get the pure, clean air coming straight off the Atlantic. Now, that to me is a golden gift. Straight into our mushroom production, so you know the air that's actually hitting this mycelium is pure and clean. The water, I went down hundreds of feet and hit an aquadome, and basically the water's coming down from the Kerry Mountains, so you know it's clean, it's filtered, and it's pure. The raw materials which I've mentioned, also the community spirit. The Irish love to talk. Yes, you do. And at the end of the day, when I go down to the pubs or to the village, the people just want to get an understanding of what you're doing, obviously, because you're new in the area, but they also have an interest as well. And you also have this in the back of your mind, am I fitting in here? And he was a great example. Recently got national broadband put in, super high fast fibre broadband. Yes, we're all technical. And putting the cable in, I had to trim the top of some of the trees down. Now, these are big trees. And one of the farmers went past my place and stopped and said, I've got an extendable chainsaw. I'll just drop it off for you. Woke up the following morning and there's this huge chainsaw and it just went up about 20 foot. That to me said, you're trusted, you're welcome, and use my equipment. So it's not a matter of being insular and just using AI. It's a matter of getting out and being part of the community as well. The actual rural concept is the big thing for me, as in we are selling part of Kerry. We are selling a produce that is grown 100%. So what I've done is I've actually set up our own mycelium lab. So we've purchased mycelium from around the world. We've run our own strains of it numerous times now, so that we've got our own pure organic mycelium. And that is the big thing for me. I want to have organic status. So the farm itself's in organic status at the moment, as in it's converting. We're coming up to our second year soon. But the farm itself, the beauty of mycelium is because it's in an enclosed environment, we can produce our own mycelium. We get, hopefully by the end of January, our organic certificate for the mushrooms. And that's another big sales pitch as far as the chefs are concerned, because the shops, the organic shops, there's a direct route straight into them. As soon as you mention to an organic shop, I've got an organic produce and it's produced in Ireland and it's Irish based and basically it's 100% local, it's taken, bang, let's have it. And what they like is the fact that we can actually physically take it along ourselves. It's not whacked along there by a courier. If you look at your produce and your product as well, can it be transported and will it survive the transportation? We have basically worked out how to transport it if need be, but the best thing for me is going and seeing the customer at the beginning of the week and saying, there you go, how's it going? And holding that conversation. You get feedback from your clients. If you can go to the restaurants and see the chefs, talk to the hotel chefs, and they will say to you, can you do this particular produce for me? Now, this could be anything. That doesn't have to just be mushrooms. You are engaging with your I call them clients at the end of the day. It's probably still the banking head on me, but they are clients because you are drawing from them what they want. And a number of chefs have said to me, John, if you can actually produce this particular type of mushroom and lock it down just for my restaurant, I guarantee you a year. Well, where else would you get that? Nobody will give you a written contract. It's very hard to get a written contract these days, but it's the good old shake of the hand, let's do it. And don't forget, what you've got to look at is diversity. When you're actually setting up a business, and put it this way, tourism dies off in this area from now till roughly St. Patrick's Day. You've got to look at what you're going to do with that produce itself and how you can actually carry on selling and making money. So we dry, dehydrate it, put it into packets. The organic shops will take it. The organic shops will take the fresh all year round. But online sales, don't forget, look, it's beside my name there, so you can see it, Moore Farm. Seriously, have a look at us online. Just Google Moore Farm, Kerry, and it'll come up and you'll see what we're doing. There's the tinctures. I am absolutely bowled over what can be achieved with mushrooms in tinctures. And the big one at the moment, some of you may know, is lion's mane. What it can actually do, and it's in its early infancy stages, but it's been shown that it will help with dementia and Alzheimer's. Now, anybody who's got suspicion of that can actually start taking lion's mane. Is it going to cure it? No. Will it slow it down? More than likely. So there's numerous things that can be done to actually help you as a person with the product. As I say, the community side of things, we've got lots of people coming up. We've got a what I call a trust box outside the farm, and people message us saying, I'd like this, I'd like that. We put it in the trust box, and people love that because the produce is there and we're trusting them to put the money in the little box inside. They know they're getting farm fresh, they know they're getting local, and it's building up that rapport of trust. So we're trusting them, they're trusting us. Closing message, I would like to say, did you ever think that you could do this? Well, I say you can, honestly. I don't care where you are in the world. If it can be done in Kerry, it can be done anywhere around the world, especially using a shipping container. That to me was the golden gift, and it's amazing. If I'm going to be putting up a YouTube channel, so it's my turn to do a few more plugs here now. I'm going to be putting up a YouTube channel soon, and I will show you how we built the unit itself. And this little project can be taken off by anybody. Hydroponics, you name it, it can be grown in a in a shipping container. It's meaningful, it's achievable, and the beauty of it, I don't care what building stature you are, what gender you are, you can achieve it. And keep your ideas alive, believe in yourself, and just do it. Thanks, Chris.
That's great. Thanks so much, John. A real vote of confidence there, I think, for all of us. Look, I think your story is amazing in the sense of kind of coming from a blank canvas perspective and utilizing the tools that are out there like AI and various other things. Just a question, and if anyone has a question, you can leave it in the chat for John, but just a question from myself. When you were going through that process of, you wanted to build out some idea and you used Gen AI solutions to try and design something out, was the mushroom farming the first thing that you landed on? Like, was there anything that you tried prior to that, or was that kind of your first ticket?
If I turn the clock back 30 years, now I'm giving you an understanding of how old I am. I was actually involved in a white cap mushroom business, and basically I was a financial backer of it. And two lads came to me and said, would you help us set up this business? And it was in the Scottish borders in the UK. And basically that was my initial intro into it. However, these lads were doing absolutely brilliant. They were up at crazy hours, taking literally roughly 1,000 trays to the market once a week, 1,000 trays, and they were getting between £6 to £8 sterling per tray. So that gives you an understanding what these lads were making. Then one morning they rang me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I thought the van broke down or something. They said, no, we've been pushed away from the market. Why? So I rang the market. They said, we don't know. We've just been pushed away. So I rang the market. I had a chat with them, and I found out that basically a lorry had turned up from an EU country, and it had been subsidised to sell them at, basically £1 a tray. And the market said, if you can match that, we'll buy it. And that just absolutely wiped these lads out. They lost their soul, they lost their interest, and I can understand why. You know, they were working hard, but I'd always had this interest in what they could achieve. But it's now time to reinvent the wheel in some respects, move away from white cap, because there's some guys in the Midlands here in Ireland that are doing brilliant business with that. So why try and take out somebody that's doing better than you and will totally wipe you out before you even start? Look at what they're not doing, but within the same sphere. So they've got a great market, but look at something different. So that's where the gourmet mushrooms came in.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, John. I think I'm leaving feeling more motivated and encouraged. And I suppose, like, between yourself and Kate, it shows that, like, you can have, these initiatives homegrown and through collaboration and through initiatives that you see, like Cliodhna is organising at Iascaigh Mhara, that, there's support out there for it as well. And the same goes through Food Community of Practice. So listen, John, on behalf of FoodCoP and the RDI Hub, I'd like to thank you so much for your time. If you've, anything that you want to send on, we'll share it to the participants. And look, personally, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of Mo Farm, and hopefully I'll be able to try some of those mushrooms someday soon.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, everybody else. Bye for now.
Thanks, John. Perfect. Great. So really appreciate that from John, and really, really interesting innovation there coming from Shneem in South Kerry. And so yeah, look, that's is our third speaker of the day. It concludes our speaking session for the webinar, our final webinar in the series. I've really, really enjoyed hosting these. Personally, I've learned an absolute ton from our speakers. I have a notebook full of notes here that I'm looking forward to going back to. And I suppose personally, I'm very, very encouraged and motivated to see one, the innovation that's happening in rural Ireland at a small scale, but two, how that's able to work collectively with larger organizations and with other groups through kind of collaboration-led initiatives. So, it's been amazing chatting to these people. From our perspective, we would absolutely love to hear your feedback. It's really, really valuable for us to continue running webinars that are of value to our attendees. That's our number one priority, to make sure that there's an added value for everyone here. So please, if you get a moment, take out your phone and scan the QR code here and leave your feedback. We'll go through all of them. We really appreciate seeing them. And then finally, as promised, I'd just like to leave the FoodCoP QR code here again. If you're someone that's interested in food innovation or rural sustainability or any circular bioeconomy strategies, whether it's on a personal level, professional level, or even on a corporate scale, then this definitely is the platform for you to join. It's open to people all across Europe. It's completely free, and it showed a great opportunity for collaboration for these initiatives all across Europe. So I'll leave it there for a couple more seconds, but if anybody wants to reach out, if you need assistance with getting on the platform or you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself. So that's all from ourselves here at the RDI Hub. I'd like to thank you all for attending here today. We really appreciate it. And as I mentioned before, if you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out. So thanks very much.